we talk about toxins for a minute
Yes,
here?
please.
Oh my gosh. So this word toxin, people don't know what a toxin is.
I don't.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a science teacher.
I'm Cheryl, and I slept through science.
Each episode will tackle a science question you may have learned in school, but can't quite remember or fully explain.
And I'll take the risk of asking the dumb questions so that we can all understand the science we slept through.
The bell has rung. Let's get started.
Welcome to lesson 65. We are in our Quackery unit. Cheryl, what are we going to be discussing today?
Well, Ryan, I thought it would just be really good if we started today by just eating clean. Just get all this like non-clean food out of our homes. Just do like a refresh, like get rid of all the toxins in our bodies and just have like lots of like all natural, like whole foods. And I thought that'd just be really good for us today.
Okay. Clean. You want us to eat clean food, so you want me to just wash it first before I eat it? Is that what you mean?
Yes, please wash your produce. Yeah, I'm worried about the dirt on your produce.
Okay, well, that's easy. I can wash stuff. All right.
Great.
Lesson over. Done.
Cool. I want to talk about eating clean, eating all natural. Do we need to be getting rid of toxins in our bodies? Like what? There's a lot of very loaded terms around eating these days. And I just thought, I don't even exactly know what my question is, but I kind of want to dive into it from a scientific perspective.
Okay. Well, for our pre-assessment, let's just start with, based on what you know, what do you think these different terms mean? You mentioned several. You mentioned clean eating. You mentioned all natural. You mentioned toxin. I think you mentioned a few others. So the ones that you can think of, what do you think they mean? Do they all mean the same thing? Do they mean different things? Is there overlap? We've got a Venn diagram situation going on here.
There might be a Venn diagram between clean eating and all natural, or maybe they're one in this. I think it's a Venn diagram where there's a lot of the circle that's the overlap.
Okay.
But maybe not 100%.
Okay.
It feels like, I mean, they're very, very popular terms for healthy eating today.
Okay.
It's like a healthy, good food choice would be to eat clean, which I think people also use to mean all natural, which I believe would mean like we're not going to be having artificial sweeteners, artificial flavoring.
Okay.
I think it might even mean like not a lot of processed foods, I think is a part of that.
Okay.
So I mean, I think a lot this kind of go hand in hand with like just cooking from scratch, like buying singular ingredients from the store and cooking with them with like, I think that's where like the natural comes in, like things that grow in nature, like an apple, a potato. But then I don't even know if potatoes are clean eating because then they're like starchy or something. So it's because I think it's also similar to like the Whole30 diet, which is not just whole ingredients. It's like low carb and no sugar or things like that. I think clean eating would be not a lot of sugar.
Okay.
But sugar is natural. I know that. Not artificial sweetener, but sugar's natural. So yeah, I'm curious to learn more about like how our diets or like nutritional plans using these terms, and then what are like the scientific terms for these things. Like, or yeah, what do these things mean in science? And then I feel like kind of related to that, there's lots of things about like getting rid of the toxins in your body or detoxing. And I think that term detox means a lot of different things to different people in terms of eating or what they're drinking.
Okay. What do you think a toxin is?
I don't know. It's something bad because
Okay.
apparently we don't want them.
Okay. Where do you think you get toxins from?
Well, if they're in my body, do I get them like if I eat Cheetos? Or is it like
So, like,
something that
can you
my
get
body's making?
Oh, okay. So, like, is it from eating things that are bad or like junk
Uh-huh.
food or something?
Yeah.
Or does your body make the toxins? Okay.
Yeah. Or am I like breathing them in the air? Is it like
Okay.
if I live in like a polluted city that I
Okay.
have like toxins in my body from that? What's a toxin?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. That's why it's the pre-assessment.
But I asked you back, so don't really know what to do with that.
I do. Okay. Anything else about clean eating or healthy eating or natural or all natural? Do you think it's actually something that we should be doing more of? Is it, as it sounds like the claim is, better for you?
I would say that regardless of what the denotation is of natural foods, I think the connotation of natural foods are really great food choices. I think it is. I think like people who are eating clean or all natural, like I think they're making very awesome, conscious, healthy choices and like I think they're looking at high nutritional value. I think they're looking at a lot of great things. I think what I'm excited about is for you to get on a little bit of a soapbox about the word natural. Um, because even like, but also there's like, you can see all natural on packaging of something. And if something's packaged, then it probably has multiple ingredients in it, which may mean that that is not something that clean eating people would want because maybe they only want to buy whole ingredients, or maybe they're okay with it sometimes. But then not every food, it feels like a lot of food labels could have the word all natural on it. Like, is that being regulated? Kind of like when we talked about
Mm,
organic things, or is that just like anybody can call something all natural? I mean, you mentioned before that like, what is it? Arsenic is all natural?
hmm
Yeah. So like, um, does that labeling, is there any kind of regulations around even calling something all natural? And I don't know if those things are better for you. I think that people who say they're eating clean are probably making pretty great nutritional choices for themselves, though. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Do you think it's better than people who aren't?
I think it depends on what your body needs.
And if your
I think,
body needs Cheetos, then you better be eating those Cheetos.
yeah. Yeah. No, I just think like different people need different amounts of like protein, fat, and carbs, and
Mm,
different people handle sugar in different ways. I think there's different philosophies around consuming sugar as well,
hmm
actually. And that's a big one. But like, I mean, I think I would guess that a lot of people who are eating clean are probably eating healthier, and that probably is better in a lot of ways for them. And so I don't know. I don't think they are better because of it, but I think they're probably making some better food choices in
Okay.
general.
Okay. One final thing, Cheryl. You have some unique food challenges as well, things that you can and can't eat for yourself.
Yeah.
How do you think that plays into this idea of clean eating or all natural or any of those things?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, for example, the Whole30 diet I think is like a
hmm
lot of clean and all natural eating.
Okay.
And they have this really great shopping list of
Okay.
like just take this to the grocery store. You can buy any of these things. They're all Whole30. And they have a version of that shopping list for the foods that I can eat.
hmm
And it is comical because it's like half of them. Um,
What do you mean?
It's literally like half of the things are like, oh, but don't buy that because those that would not be good for you if these things affect your body. And so it's
Mm.
very funny because if I were to, it's the same with plant-based eating. Actually, with like my food restrictions, it would be very hard for me to eat vegan
Mm.
because I don't even know how I would consume protein ever. And so, for
Because of all
my
the
body,
plant-based proteins your body can't handle.
no, not so much. No, it
Mhm.
doesn't do well with those. I'll show you the list because this is interesting.
Okay.
Um, okay, so can you see
Mhm.
this list here? So
Yep.
this is like the Whole30 shopping list. I don't know if Whole30 and Clean are exactly the same thing, but I would
Okay.
say they are very close friends if they're not
Okay.
exactly the same thing. So this is like you could print this out, take this to the store, and be eating Whole30 by choosing these items. So you can see like there's a lot of like proteins, veggies, fruits, fats, herbs and spices,
There's more
pantry
than 30
items, and
items.
drinks. It's about 30 days.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is the same as the essential oils
Uh-huh.
predicament you got in recently. Yeah, the idea is like do this for a month and it's really good, like elimination diet, or maybe to like reset
Okay.
some habits or things like that.
Okay.
Which I do respect, saying this is not forever. Um,
Mhm.
okay, now I'm going to show you the low FODMAP one. And if it's highlighted in red, it's avoid it. And if it's highlighted in yellow, it is enjoy with caution. So don't have very much at all. So like
Mhm.
proteins, we're doing just fine.
Mhm.
But then like vegetables is like half of them are highlighted in one of those colors.
Mhm.
And then
And
look at
fruit
fruits.
even more are the red color.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
And then we're going
Fats, a
down to the
lot
next
of them are
page.
yellow.
Mm-hmm.
That entire last column is either red or yellow. The entire all nuts and seeds.
Yeah. All nuts and seeds. Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Herbs and spices, you're mostly good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, that would make it a lot more challenging.
Yes. But man, those meat proteins, those do sit well with me. So for my body, if I were to eat all of the things that clean eaters say are really good for you,
Mm-hmm.
they would not be good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would mean that if I were to eat like perfectly clean,
Mm-hmm.
then I would have a very short list of foods to choose from. So that
Shorter
it's just
than the
interesting.
list already is, because you
Yeah.
already have a shorter list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then mine's like half that length.
Yeah.
And so it's really challenging then to choose like, well, then what's the best food for my body? It's going to be different than the best foods for somebody who has sensitivities to red meat. Then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, then you may need to find other protein, so it just,
Mm-hmm.
it really does depend on the person's body and what sits well with them,
Yeah. Cheryl, there is so much to talk about in the lesson today. I'm going to try and just focus in and talk about a few things. You mentioned a soapbox. I will try not to get too soapboxy, but no promises.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm kind of excited about it.
Okay. Well, I'm glad somebody is. Let's start by talking about the whole natural artificial thing.
Okay.
You brought up a really good point that I've used as an example before. Arsenic is 100% natural, and too much of it can kill you.
Yeah.
Just because something is natural does not mean that it is good for you or better for you. The opposite is also true. Just because something is not natural does not mean that it is bad for you. I think we can just think of things like medicine. A lot of medicines started with something from a plant or, whatever, but then we figured out how they work and figured out new things and developed other medicines that actually can help you get over being sick. That, I think you can make an argument, is a good thing, even if it's not quote unquote natural. If we were to be all natural around illnesses, we would never take any medication at all. We would just let our body do its own thing, which means our death rates would be significantly higher. How do we know that? It's called history.
Yeah.
Prior to the invention of modern medicine and treatments, even just things like washing your hands and using soap and disinfectants, vaccines, all of these things, they're not necessarily natural, but that doesn't mean that they're bad for us. Just because something is natural doesn't mean that it's good for us.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to add one more layer to this, and it comes with what I just said. And I don't know if this is something you and I may have talked about this in the past, but it's a very interesting thing that we do here in the United States. And there are other countries that do it as well, but not all cultures do this. We use moral language when we talk about food.
Yeah. Like I was bad today. I had a donut.
Mm-hmm. Or even what I just said, this food is good for you. This food is bad for you. Yeah. Those are words that imply morality. And there's a danger in doing that, because while we may be talking about those foods, what is often implied is that the person who does that thing is good or bad or better or worse. And a lot of these diets, often that comes along with them. Not everybody who does a particular diet or eats a particular way is looking down on other people who don't. That is, I'm not trying to say that everybody does that. But as a general culture, that concept is really easy to slide into because of the language that we use.
Like clean.
Clean versus dirty.
Yeah.
There is a very clear judgment in that. If the food isn't clean, that implies that it's dirty. And then you think of like, oh, it like fell on the ground and now it's got dirt all over it. That's gross. But that's not really the whole picture. All of this stuff around food and talking about these things being good or bad or good for you or bad for you, it can be dangerous. It can also be innocuous and not the end of the world. I'm not saying that we need to completely eliminate that from our lexicon. Otherwise, the whole world is going to be destroyed. Like, it's not that dramatic, but it's interesting when you become aware of that and you notice that. When I notice it in myself, it's really easy to talk about it that way. People who struggle with eating disorders, that language can sometimes fuel those challenges. Yeah. That's not a great thing.
I mean, even like on desserts, they'll be like sinfully delicious.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I think I might have to look it up. The word decadent.
Yeah. Decadent chocolate cake.
But what it actually means. Yeah. Decadent. Characterized by or reflecting a state of moral or cultural decline.
That's what decadent means?
That's what the word decadent means. The only context I usually use it in is for food, like ridiculous chocolate. But it's a moral word. That's where that comes from.
I thought it meant elaborate.
Wow.
No.
I mean, I think that's the way we may kind of use it now because we've lost where that meaning came from. But that's what I mean. Wow. This idea of food being a moral thing is deeply embedded in our culture in ways that we don't even recognize and aren't even intentionally doing and wouldn't even know if we didn't look up a definition.
Yeah.
So there's my little soapbox a little bit with that.
Love it. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's important to be aware of. I also am going to, okay, fine, the whole thing's a soapbox. I'm going to talk about toxins. Can we talk about toxins for a minute here?
Please.
Oh my gosh. So the natural, artificial, yes, just because that's fine. But toxins, this word toxin, People don't know what a toxin is. May
I
I
don't.
please read you a few different definitions for the word toxin?
Yeah.
Here's the dictionary definition of the word toxin. An antigenic poison or venom of a plant or animal origin, especially one produced by or derived from microorganisms and causing disease when present at low concentrations in the body.
Whoa, that's intense.
That is a toxin. Are your Cheetos a toxin?
No.
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 Let me read to you another definition. This one's from Wikipedia. A toxin is a naturally occurring organic poison.
Oh my gosh, toxins are all natural?
They are all natural and they're organic.
Oh my, and they're organic?
They're
oh my gosh, are
organic.
they USDA certified organic?
They're not USDA certified organic.
dang
They
it.
are organic as in what we talked about in our previous lesson. Organic as
Yes.
in they're from living things. They are made with carbon. But they're
I'm
produced.
so happy to hear that toxins are all natural and organic. That makes me feel really good about having toxins in me sometimes.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
They are produced by metabolic activities of living cells or organisms. Which then got me thinking. I was like, wait a minute. They're poisons produced by living things. Do you know what is a toxin that is very, very common, Cheryl?
Alcohol?
Alcohol.
I thought so.
Alcohol is a toxin. By definition, alcohol is a toxin. And so when we talk about removing the toxins from our body, you know, you could just not put the toxin in the first place. But like that is something that is socially and culturally accepted way of putting toxins, literally, by definition, a toxin into your body.
So the
It
next
is a
time
poison.
someone like has an alcoholic drink, I can be like, "Oh my gosh, do you know how many toxins are in that?" It'd be really good. I will say, in defense of things like clean eating plans, the Whole30, all of those, they say no alcohol. So
Yes.
at least they're consistent with that.
Yes.
And I respect that.
That is good. Yes. And I completely agree. And I'm not trying to say that no one should ever drink alcohol ever. That's
Well,
not
good.
what I'm
Thank
saying.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, I would kick you off our podcast for saying that, actually. So,
But I think it's just a good example of how, again, I don't think any individual does this, but collectively we pick and choose in order to make ourselves feel good about our choices. Because again, food we talk about and think about in a moral way. Toxin sounds bad because by definition it is. It's something that is toxic. If a snake bites you, you have a toxin in you. And yes, you need it out of you. But also, if you drink alcohol, your liver actively works to remove the toxin that you ingested. And if you drink too much alcohol, you start throwing up and passing out because your body, it has a toxin in it. When we're talking about you need a detox, there aren't toxins that just like drinking really disgusting things that make you have to sit on the toilet for a really long time. That is not detoxing you at all. Your kidneys and your liver are detoxing you all the time. That's their job.
So this feels similar to recently on an episode we were talking about, was it the ionized water? We were talking about like if it was actually doing what it said it was going to do.
Yes,
Like,
because
what
it was
was that?
changing. Supposedly it was altering the pH in your blood.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yes. And
this
I was
feels
telling you
similar
that the
to that.
kidneys are already maintaining that. They're already regulating that for you. You don't need to drink something different in order to change the pH in your blood. Yeah, it is very similar. Yes. Our bodies have systems to get rid of toxins as much as possible. There are toxins is a very specific class of thing. They are all natural and 100% organic. which just goes right back to the beginning, which means just because something's natural doesn't mean it's good for you.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, I definitely soapboxed a little bit, I can tell.
Yes, you
I need to
did.
talk myself down a little bit. Because thinking about eating things that are healthy is good. And
Yeah.
like you referenced earlier, sometimes some of these things can actually overall be things that are more healthy choices for you. If you are eating more fruits and vegetables, that's generally more healthy than eating more junk food. We know that just because of the nutritional value in those things. There are more complex proteins, and the carbohydrate forms are different, and all of those pieces. But it's not because the food itself is good or the food itself is bad. You can eat a Cheeto. You can even eat an entire bag of Cheetos and still overall have a healthy body. Just like you can do Whole30 for 30 days plus the 10 days of ramping back up again. And if all of the days before and all of the days after, all you eat is Cheetos, those 30 days aren't going to make a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same sort of a thing. It's about what is the lifestyle? What are your choices? Like you said, human bodies are different, so what they need is going to be different. Your nutritional needs are going to be different than my nutritional needs because of the way that your body is built and the way that it works. And that's an okay thing.
So I think what I'm hearing from this is that all of the practices of all of these claims might be spot on, but the language that they're using and the way they're titling things is the part that you take issue with.
It's the biggest issue, yes, that I have is the way that they talk about it, because I think the language that we use frames the way that we think about things, both ourselves and others. And again, that moral language around food, I think, is one, we're less aware of it, and two, I think it does more damage than I think we realize because it's so subtle and so pervasive amongst just the way that we talk about things. And so I think that, yes, you can eat healthy and make healthy choices in the things that you consume, but what actually is healthy, I think, is a wider range than what a lot of, especially fad diets, tend to claim.
And so the quackery piece is using scientific terms incorrectly.
And making the claim that I think a lot of these fad diets do, whether explicitly or implicitly, that their diet is the healthy way to do it. This is the way. You have to eat only whole foods. You have to eat only all natural. You have to eat only organic. Whatever the thing is, this is the way to do it. Our way is superior. Again, it's that morality piece. And that is not backed by science. There are lots of different ways that you can achieve a healthy balance in your body. And there's not just one. And a lot of the fad diets, ultimately, when you get into the research, aren't often super healthy. They aren't necessarily the best because they often will narrow in on a thing. Eat all protein and completely get rid of carbs. Eat all carbs and get rid of all protein. Fat is bad, don't eat it. Our bodies need all of those things. Our bodies are made out of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. We need all of them. None of them are bad inherently. Sorry, I'm soapboxing again. Now that I've stepped off of my soapbox, I'm going to give you a quiz.
I was trying to think about a joke about soap or eating soap, but I didn't swear, so I feel like it didn't apply. But maybe something about soap being clean. Can we go with that? Like I said something super witty about clean eating and soap boxes, and then you laughed, and it was really amazing.
That's so clever, Cheryl.
Thanks.
All right, first question. Give 4 examples of ways that we use moral language when talking about food.
Devil's food cake.
One.
That's one. Okay. Cheat days.
2.
Okay. Let's see what we have. I've heard a lot of phrases like I've been good all week when talking about making healthier eating choices. Okay. I mean, there's a million, but I'm trying to think about like specific ones because I like the specific ones. Skinny Pop. Skinny Pop popcorn is a brand of popcorn. Does that count? Is it moral if it's Skinny Pop? I feel like that's on the fence. So let's come up with a 5th one just to make sure that we have enough of them. I'm going to, there's something that's lots of things are guilt-free. That's a common label.
That's a great one. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. What is a toxin?
It's a poison or a venom. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. What's the thing that I'm passionate about for a toxin? What is true for a toxin?
I mean, there's a lot of things. It's all natural.
It's all natural and
organic.
Completely organic. Yes, it is. Thank you. Why don't we need to detox, Cheryl? I just had Fritos. Why don't I need to detox?
Well, there's no poison in your Fritos. I really hope your bag of Fritos does not have poison in it. Otherwise you should probably sue the company. But also you have, I'm pretty sure, unless there's something you haven't told me, that you have a liver and 2 kidneys.
As far as I know, I do. I've never seen them, but I think
Fair.
I do.
They're working away. I think you'd be
so.
dead by now if you didn't.
I think I would know if I didn't. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Last question. Give 2 examples of natural things that can be harmful and 2 examples of artificial things that can be helpful.
One artificial thing I was thinking about are like real meal replacement shakes. They're so helpful. Oh my gosh, on a busy day. And actually, like, there's some ones that are like really healthy and really, really well-rounded. There's some that are really healthy, really well-rounded, and even provide like the vitamins you need and the right balance of fats, proteins, and carbs, and can fill you up while not being too many calories. And so, but I don't think they're just like a ground up steak. I think they're not natural.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen that powder in nature before myself.
Okay.
So that's one of the unnatural things.
Yep.
The artificial things, yes. Another artificial thing that can be really helpful is chemotherapy. Which I feel like I'm not going to say 100% of the population's on board with, because there are probably some people who are against chemo. But most people would agree is really important and has saved a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an example where you can very clearly make the case on top of that most chemotherapies are toxic. They are toxins. And that's the point.
Yeah, you're poisoning your body.
The thing about cancer is it's your own body that isn't functioning properly versus a bacterium or a fungus or a virus that got into your body. It's your own body. That's part of what makes cancer hard to treat. But you're right. Yeah, chemotherapy is a good example.
Okay, and then 2 all natural things that are harmful. So snakes. I mean, they're pretty sometimes, but they're definitely all natural.
They are all natural. Yep.
And they're so toxic.
They can be toxic.
So toxic.
They definitely can be if you let them bite you. That can be very, very toxic.
Yes.
And depending on the snake, it can be deadly toxic.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So that would be one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or poison ivy
Okay.
would be another one that we all learned about as kids, and then you're supposed to like rub a fern on it or whatever, but like that's all natural and our bodies don't handle it so well. So not exactly healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all great examples. Nice job. I approve. All of those good things. So now you're going to go and you're going to have your whole food, all natural, 100% organic, toxic free snack, right?
Yeah, I'll have some water.
Sounds great. Make sure it's deionized, of course. Just that pH.
For sure will. Yep.
All righty. That's all the time we have for our lesson today. So why don't you pack up your stuff and get ready for my closing remarks.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Slept Through Science or on Twitter at Slept Science.
If you have dumb science questions like I do, please send them to us. You can email us at isleptthroughscience@gmail.com, or you can even send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the podcast.
Please rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about our podcast on social media.
Thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
The bell doesn't dismiss you. I dismiss you.